Hi, good morning or good afternoon. It's July 26th, and this is the Jupyter Dev meeting. We'll start off with Min.
Yeah, I'm still digging out from under a lot of the SciPy backlog. But we had a really good Jupyter Hub workshop last week and there's a repo with PDFs and talks recorded and things. And right now I'm working with Simula folks on NBDime, the diffing merging tools, and I think we're in a state where it would be useful to get some feedback on some of the stuff we're doing with Jupyter Lab and Phosphor tools for rendering the diffs and getting some design time. So I've pinged Jason on some of the Phosphor model side and Brian on some of the design side, so we can start working with people on bringing that to a more public project. But yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Sounds great. Okay, are you doing the hackpad? Looks like we've got Steve. Steve's not on the call. Steve, you're muted if you're talking.
He's got the construction side.
Oh, I thought that was Anna. Okay, let's do Carol. Did you have anything you wanted to update the group on?
Just that I'm going to be on vacation next week, and I'm going to let the interns monitor the documentation builds and have them file issues should there be a broken build, which hopefully there won't be. And Nick, I will be at Jupyter Days Atlanta, so we can chat about that later. And other than that, just a few shout outs for people that have done some great stuff recently. And that's it for me.
Oh, awesome. So Darian, we skipped you, so we'll come back.
Okay. I was gonna do.
If you guys feel like all your stuff is recorded in the hackpad, then that's cool. I know we're trying to get away from the person by person meeting, but.
I was going to do a short demo of a thing that we talked about on Friday. I got some feedback on Friday, and based on that feedback, I want to show the current version because now I really want to do a design handoff so that we can actually have a UX review of it. The PR isn't totally complete, but it's in a demoable state, so I can show you right now, and then the PR will probably be done today or tomorrow. So if that's okay, I'd like to share my screen now.
Great.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Great.
Not quite yet.
So I'm just going to refresh so it's a brand new session. Okay, so basically the thing that I introduced last week was code inspection for the console, but obviously we need that for the console and we need it for the notebook. And the idea was partly to get rid of tooltips and partly to handle pager content. So when you do this, what's supposed to happen? And also, we also had tooltips that would be hovering if I had typed the word print here that were getting people's way. Well, now we have this sidebar thing called inspector, and I'm still debating whether or not it should auto open. I think when you typed in the question mark and hit go, probably should have auto open because you actually requested it, but there's some nuance and we haven't thought through everything. But anyway, this is actually I can clear it just to show you. So when I type in pageable content, there's an inspector details tab that gets populated with the content of that. And if I have other stuff that I execute, it shows up in there. Or if I am just writing things and as I'm writing, I get the signature, it's in there. The idea before was that this was embedded in your actual console, but actually that made little sense because you're going to have lots of things open, and if each of them has this much real estate allocated toward code inspection, it's just going to become unwieldy. So now multiple things connect to the same console. So, sorry, I keep calling it console. I mean inspector. So here I am in a notebook that I just opened up, and the notebook has hooked up to the same inspector, and it has all the same behaviors as before. And actually, for the things that I asked for these pager content, I have a history that I can navigate back because those are things I explicitly care about. This, I think we're going to upgrade so that instead of navigable history, it'll be a drop-down history, which will be easier to see, but that'll need some help from the back end before it's possible, because I don't actually know what string got executed. So if I had something like this, the back end populated this I question mark here, but I don't actually know to differentiate unless I want to explicitly say, what if it's the last line? But actually, it might not even be. So let's see. I think I can do this. Yeah. So the front end just simply doesn't have enough information to give little tags to populate the drop-down history, but perhaps the back end does, or perhaps I'll take the first line or something. We need to make a call. This is one of the things that requires UX review. So yeah. Anyway, the big deal is that the console and the notebook now both talk to a code inspector. There's levels of code inspection. Right now, the default out of the box is things that used to be tooltips and things that are pagers, but it's written in an extensible way, and you could imagine somebody writing an actual debugger or somebody writing a different kind of thing that links to external resources or whatever. There's lots of ways you can imagine the community extending this, but this is to just give a framework and to get us both to feature parity and maybe a little bit nicer way of showing those same features off. That's all I wanted to demo, but I'll keep sharing my screen in case somebody wants me to test something out for them. If not, all I have to say is once this PR is in, I would like a UX review of how we want these behaviors to work and what things should auto open, all the considerations basically. This right now, the other thing is when we switch to the Phosphor Mono repo, currently it's embedded in the right sidebar. The Phosphor Mono repo version of the application shell will also have a bottom bar. So there's a little button here that I've disabled right now that you could toggle to flip it to the bottom the way, say, your browser has this console on the bottom. And it's just disabled right now, but once we switch to the mono repo, that is one of the features I want to add. Okay, that's it.
Are you still triggering the inspection with unshift tab or whatever?
No, actually,
it's
right
not, or is
now,
it as you type?
in this current version, the inspections all happen just as you type the way tooltips would. And actually, right. I was thinking of tying the keyboard shortcut to simply collapsing and expanding this. But one of the things that we talked about was getting rid of Shift Tab as the shortcut, because Shift Tab has a meaning in most code editors, and it means unindent. So instead, I was going to hook it up to something else.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about the one thing that from the demo that gave me an idea was if I did question mark somewhere to bring that up into a pager on the side, I wouldn't want that to ever go away while I'm typing. Like I'm using that as a reference.
Yeah, that's right. So that actually
I would want maybe as you type stuff to actually be going to a different location.
It does go to a different location.
Okay.
It does. So hints and details are different.
Oh, hints and details are different. Okay, I see. It's one multiple tab thing. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it now. It's just a little small. Okay, I get it. Perfect. Thanks.
Slowing down the type.
I think I have a demo glitch here. Yeah, I think I busted it. So as I think what happened was I haven't fully dealt with switching tabs. So I closed the notebook and I went to the console, but now it appears the console is no longer connected either. But that's a glitch that needs to be fixed. But yeah, so the idea is Here's the time that I asked for, and now I don't see the tooltip print unless I go to hints myself.
Okay, yeah, so tooltips are now hints and pager is details.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
What if the doc string is very long as you type? Is it going to slow down the rendering?
It's going to be faster than the tooltip was, and that did not appear to be slowing down anyone's rendering before.
They need to be real long for that to be an issue.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, because also it doesn't really cause reflows because it's in a fixed box on the right-hand side. So I think it's fine.
I have another question. The current pager in the legacy notebook handles multiple MIME types. Is it the case for this one?
So this runs through the render mime. I give the bundle that I get from the server to the render mime. So I haven't seen any other ones, but yes, it does.
So the thing is, you can enable it using by installing doc wrapper, and then you get an HTML bundle, which is an HTML MIME time, which is quite ugly at the moment, but you will get it.
Yes, this will support that out of the box because it's just run everything through render mime.
Cool.
Hooray for MIME bundles.
Yeah, no, that is definitely useful. I mean, it's a little bit heavy because what I'm doing is I'm emitting widgets. Like a whole widget gets emitted by your notebook or by your console, and that's the signal that the inspector is listening to. On the other hand, I don't care that much because the widget is a wrapper around an HTML node, and that's what I had to do at the least if I wanted a MIME bundle to get rendered. So it's not, I don't have too many choices. Okay, if that's it, I'll stop sharing my screen unless somebody wants me to try out something new. Great, thanks.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. So looks like Anna's next.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Lots of events coming up. I don't have anything major to announce or share at this point other than Jupyter Day Atlanta going live this week. So I'll let Nick update everyone on that. I've really been enjoying working with both him and Tony Fast on organizing this event, and it's been going really, really well. So huge shout out to Nick for being an awesome event planner. And that's it for me.
Yeah, hi. So yep, Jupyter Day Atlanta 2016 website's up. Tickets are on sale. Carol's coming. It's gonna be awesome. We've sent it out to our initial 20 or 30 people that were interested in the pre-activity. A bunch of speakers are already either already here or they've already booked rooms. So we're excited about that. But lots of good hacking stuff like that. So if you know people in the Southeast, college folks, people doing business down here, people doing policy down here, let them know, and that would be great coming from a core contributor like yourself, because that is as it turns out, people really like that about Jupyter Days. So let's keep that up. That's about it. Any questions?
Yeah, and I'll be tweeting about it, Nick. So if everyone can give it some love on Twitter and retweet it and favorite it and that sort of business, that'd be great.
It wouldn't hurt to put out one more email to the Jupyter list. I know you put an email back a few weeks ago. But...
I was going to let the official one go out first. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody, for support.
Thanks, Nick. Looks like Peter's next.
Nothing new this week. I'm easy.
All right. It looks like Matthias is next.
Yeah, not much. Some issue with upstream packaging, because if we want to release a Python 3 only version of our software, upstream is deprecating the only way we had to simply publish a Python 3 only version. So we have to go through a PEP process and update PyPI legacy and update pip and have all that propagate to all our users. And it's not a priority for upstream, so had to work a bit on that. And that's it.
Great, thanks. Damian?
Okay, I can go next. Essentially, we have been discussing with Nick and me regarding some issues with one extension we put up there in the kernels, and we're working on that, and I believe we have a solution now. So you will expect some better behavior in the next few days with the extension. Also, we are working, some guys and me are working on the next RISE release, hopefully 1 or 2 weeks, with some enhancement and fixes, and that's all for now.
Awesome. Thank you. We have Jason next. How's Jupyter Lab?
It's going really well. We're just continuing to work on it, and visited Brookhaven yesterday. Thanks to Dan Allen for inviting me over. And so talked with Tom and Dan and some of the other people there about a lot of interesting things that they're seeing that I've also seen. Issues with working with the notebooks in general and scientific workflows that I'll be putting in some PRs or at least issues, talking about some of the solutions we've discussed. So hooray for community involvement and feedback.
Yay. Thanks, Jason. We've got Mike here.
Yeah, still getting up to speed and working on some stuff with use. That's about it.
All right. So we also have Grant Nestor on the phone. Brian, do you want to introduce him? Hey, Grant.
Yeah.
You want to introduce?
Yeah,
oh.
absolutely. Hey, so Grant Nestor, we've recently started a contract with him to do core maintenance on the classic notebook and IPyWidgets, and I'll let him sort of introduce himself in terms of his background, but we're really excited to have him working with us. And yeah, great. Just finished all the paperwork this last week, and so he'll be getting started any day now, or already started really.
Hey guys, so I'm Grant. I'm based in LA. I got involved with Jupyter initially because I started maintaining the Atom notebook project. So I have a background in JavaScript. I've done some Atom development, and I'm not an academic, I'm not a scientist, but I was drawn to Jupyter just because I think, what Jupyter embodies is really awesome. And I think that this is going to have an influence on the future of programming eventually, and I want to be a part of that. So this week, the papers were signed last week. So this week I'm just meeting with Sylvan and with Matthias and just getting more acquainted and more up to date with what's going on with the notebook repo and the IPyWidgets repo. And that's all I have to report right now, but I really look forward to working with all of you.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Brent. All right.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Got it. Grant's got some welcomes in the chat panel. All right. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share with the group besides their kind of main development projects?
I have, this is Brian, just a short thing. So I'm in the car. I apologize. I'm not able to participate in the video. But over the weekend, I wrote another file viewer for Jupyter Lab that opens up Vega and Vega Lite JSON files and renders them in Jupyter Lab. And a lot of the Vega Lite files are standalone and contain their own data, but a lot of them refer to data using relative URLs. And it was another place that I ran into this issue that we have not yet solved in Jupyter Lab about how will sort of arbitrary files that may have relative URLs buried deep in them get successfully resolved. And it was just another way that I was encountering that I hadn't quite thought before. And so in this case, these relative URLs were not in like HTML. They were buried deep in a JSON data structure that was parsed by D3. So it was just sort of a variant of that same issue that we were seeing in other contexts in JupyterLab.
I think we said in those cases where you have a library that's actually rendering some custom data structure, that we provide a function that resolves relative paths to a URL, and it's up to the renderer to call that function when it has a relative path and convert to a URL, which we don't have yet. I think Steve's been working on it.
Right. The only challenge I see with that is that in some of these contexts, it's extremely difficult to even know where all those relative paths are. And I'm a little, I don't know, it's not obvious to me that it's feasible for renderers. I mean, even just think about a simple HTML renderer. How do we know for certainty, how are we able to walk a chunk of HTML and find all the relative URLs and transform them reliably? I don't.
Brian, would it be conceivable that you require Vega to have a hook to pass in a function to load a relative URL? I mean, that you ask them upstream to include that functionality so that you can provide a function for it.
Yep, that's something that I think would obviously for a library like D3 or Vega would help a lot, because somewhere deep inside of D3, they know when they're actually loading those URLs, and they could prepend a base path or something. In other cases, I don't know, I haven't quite. This was a different usage case than I ran into before, and it helped me to understand how pervasive and like a lot of these files and I think part of it is that as JupyterLab is able to open and render more types of files, we're going to run into this same issue in lots of different file types that we hadn't sort of thought of before.
We already have a bit for SVG, certain SVGs and things. We have a bit of an escape hatch in notebooks. In output, for putting outputs in an iframe, there are certain disadvantages to doing that, so we kind of only do it when we have to.
Yeah.
In JupyterLab, there are similar disadvantages to putting a panel in an iframe, but we could allow that as kind of an escape hatch for if the relative URL solutions aren't perfect and universal. You could say, this goes in an iframe on a URL that is where everything where it doesn't need any modification. That's kind of, certain things won't work, but relative URLs are guaranteed to work. So you could have kind of a trade-off there.
Right. Yeah. No, and I was actually thinking that we probably want to have a viewer for .html files that just opens that HTML in an iframe. And, people might want to use JupyterLab for web development. And that would be a great example. And in that case, the relative URLs would not be a problem.
Right.
I guess at some point, Chris was talking about rewriting the doc panel to be flat, which would take care of some of the disadvantages right now of having an iframe in the JupyterLab architecture, i.e. that if you moved it around, it would
so if those disadvantages go decrease, then it's possible that moving more things to iframes rather than less.
Gotcha. Yeah, so basically to have elements, children of the doc panel, be in a fixed location in the DOM tree, so that even though you're rearranging them visually from a layout perspective, you're not mutating the DOM and triggering the iframes to reload. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you just change the absolute position of and sizing.
But the
I mean,
the iframe reloads when you modify the DOM is considered a bug in Chrome, and it might be solved soon. And so rewriting the entire doc panel for something that may be solved in the next version of Chrome might be a bit extreme, especially since we don't use any iframe at the moment.
Solve soon is browsers have bugs that have been open for 15 years. Not solved, so I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's
we don't have a use case right now quite yet, right?
like the iframe issues. That's just one of them. We still drag and drop is a first class operation in Jupyter Lab, but all we can do with iframes is simply have a dead zone on the page for drag and drop. That's not really acceptable, and nobody's noticing that because we don't have too many iframes. We've worked really hard to avoid them. But if iframes become a way of doing things, then people won't have predictable ways of knowing which spots of the page are dead zones and which spots aren't. And I think that would be really frustrating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky trade-off when we got this multi-panel thing that's a web page, but in many ways, what you put in each panel is fundamentally a web page. And so we either need to, it's a tricky trade-off for which things do we make easier. I don't think there's a clean and obvious, right, this is going to be best for everything. So you just have to figure out what's least annoying to the right people.
To question for rendered HTML output and rendered markdown cells, do we have a reliable way of detecting those relative URLs and transforming them?
Not yet, but I mean, you can go through the DOM spec and see where URLs are allowed and build a function.
Okay, so parse the HTML and then go through it.
Yeah,
once it's a DOM structure. Okay, got it.
But
yeah, it's
that,
only
just walk the DOM. Yeah.
No, but it's non-trivial because style tags can have URLs in them. So there are style types, value, URL, whatever. Then and they're depending on whether it's trusted or not. We have trusted content that is running JavaScript. JavaScript could arbitrarily create URL strings, and we'd have no real way of knowing. Basically, the problem is
the black box.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I agree that it's really tricky to get the DOM walking right.
Yeah.
Matthias and Jamie, you guys are muted.
Starting to sound a little bit more like a Jupyter Lab, that meeting.
You're always pulling us back, reining us in.
Which is fine.
No, I agree. Thanks.
Yeah. Is there anything else we need to talk about today for the whole group? And then if we want to continue this conversation, you can do so after the formal meeting and then also on Friday.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thomas? How are you?
I'm there.
Muted. Okay, I just want to say hi to Thomas. He's at the end. Looks like you're muted. I just want to hear your voice. All right, 2 minutes. We won't. All right, great. If folks don't have anything else, I'm gonna say thank you and stop the recording.